Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the NFL Concerts, the live interviews. We are here on episode 10, if you can believe that. Been keeping busy, talking to a lot of the folks out there who have helped us with the NFL Concert, performed on it, people who we're hoping maybe will perform again someday after this. But we are inviting everybody in from the entertainment community to tell us their story and have it all be for a great cause. So we are back here. This is the live interviews, and we look forward to today's show. Before we dive into who's here joining us today on episode 10, I just wanted to remind everybody that this was created out of an organization and an event that my wife and I founded back in 2011 called the NF Hope Concerts. The NF Hope Concerts were founded and inspired by our daughter, Emma, who was diagnosed with a neurological disorder, neurofibromatosis, at just 9 months old. NF, for those of you who don't know, is a neurological disorder that is characterized by tumors that can grow on any nerve in the body at any time. And for parents, the most important thing, along with a slew of symptoms that can come with it, is that there is no cure. And until recently, there weren't any treatments. We are very excited to hear of the very first FDA-approved treatment for NF tumors back in March of this year. And we are looking forward to many more to come. But if you'd like to help us get there sooner, please feel free. Right down there, if you would like to make a contribution, please visit nfnetwork.org. We spoke a lot about NF Network last week when I interviewed, or 2 weeks ago when I interviewed my wife, co-founder of the NF Hope Concerts, and of course the inspiration, our daughter. NF Network is led by Kim Bischoff. And if you'd like to go visit her and talk to her about the NF, give them a call. And of course, if you have any questions, their website is a great source of information. So what we've done is we've actually collected a bunch of talented people who have not only contributed these talents to the NFL Concerts over the years, but people who we've met along the way who maybe didn't make it to one of our concerts or hasn't yet. This week, I'm excited to introduce my friend, my fellow Jersey Boy family member, and of course, Tony Award-winning actor. Please welcome Mr. Christian Hoff. What's up, buddy?
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, welcome. So, yeah, we're excited to have you, man. It's been nice sort of reconnecting in the last month or so. You know, we'll talk a little bit more about why we connected back in July in Ventura. But I'm just going to dive right in. So I got to tell you, I was watching you get introduced during the concert in Ventura in early July, and I learned some details that I didn't know about you. And one of which, especially growing up as a fan of the Warner Brothers and Hanna-Barbera cartoons and watching, you know, Yogi Bear and the Flintstones and the Jetsons and of course Scooby-Doo, you know, I was really excited to hear that you actually at a very early age got started in acting in a very big way. You actually voiced Richie Rich. So what was it like as a young kid, first of all, walking into Hanna-Barbera to do that, but also having that experience of creating the voice of a character that's lived for so long?
You know, what we have the privilege occasionally of experiencing is that out-of-body experience where we do what we normalize, whether it's voicing a cartoon or stepping on the Broadway stage or anything, where there's a craft and preparation and, you know, sort of an industry, right? Or an expectation. Occasionally you get to transcend and flip over to the other side and enjoy the ride while you're instead of either after the fact or upon reflection. That was one of those moments, walking down the hallway of Hanna-Barbera and hearing cartoons that this is a long time ago. So this is, you know, early 80s or, you know, thereabouts. And so, or in 1980, you know, and so Saturday morning cartoons were everything, like you said, with whether it's Warner Brothers, Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera. So to be in that environment was very out of body, but it also connected what it is I knew and loved to do, which was create characters and voices and be a part of a community. Hanna-Barbera was that. Walking down the hallway with the smell of smoke and, you know, voices and theme songs, whether it's Scooby-Doo or Jetsons or you name it, all of the great Astro Mutt, or Dino Mutt, Astro, My Dog Dollar, Scooby. All of those voices are voiced by a voice actor by the name of Frank Welker, and who's still voicing human and otherwise. But being able to experience it, sort of like as I was doing it was an awesome thing. And then sitting in the studio with Frank Welker when he would jump into lines off the page that were Dollars lines, my dog, in doing Dino Mutt, Astro, Scooby. It just was another layer of, and just how immediate and how present creativity is in the world that we take for granted. And that's really what's given me the biggest joy, the greatest joy as an actor, is when you can kind of have those moments like we did in Jersey Boys when we broke the fourth wall. Yeah. And you could actually relate, not only experience the music with the audience, but actually tell your story and interact with them. That was that same feeling for me every time I stepped on stage as Tommy DeVito. And I know you and all of our brothers in the Jersey Boys family know that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're standing next to a guy like Frank Welker, and so obviously your voiceover career has continued. And another interesting thing I learned about you, and I've got to ask, was it kind of inspired by watching this stuff at such an early age? But you actually hold a world record, right? You hold a world record for the most character voices in an audiobook. Did I get that title right?
I surpassed the world record, and that's another story of having my team go to England and go to the Guinness office and what that's like. That's a separate topic, but Jim Dale, who holds the record, was also nominated for a Tony Award the year that I was and that I won, and he also holds the record for Lord of the Rings for a number of voices, and I surpassed that by hundreds of voices. That was another thing where we didn't really know that was happening while we were doing it. And then upon reflection and doing the math, we were like, wait a second. And so they submitted, and sure enough.
That's so cool.
So that's another first. Yeah.
These are great little tidbits, great stories to tell, right? Because our careers are kind of like about that.
They're great stories to tell.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
great stories to have. Most often they're a secret. They're my little secret. But the fact that I did it is true, and the fact that I was in Jersey Boys is true, and the fact that we get to work together again is true. And so I'm just grateful for the process that we get to go through of reflection, but also looking forward and creating the opportunity that we need to create.
Of course, exactly, and now's perfect time to do that. And we'll actually talk about that in just a second. But all right, so we got to move on to sort of the white elephant in the room, and this is the whole Jersey Boys story. Now, I'm sure that many people have asked you, like they've asked me and every other person who's played one of the four seasons. They ask, "Oh, what was it like to audition? How did you land the part?" You actually kind of have a different story. I mean, you had a relationship with Des from Tommy, Des McAnuff, the director of Jersey Boys. So where were you before Jersey Boys, and sort of how did you get brought into that family?
Thanks. Well, that was an interesting journey for sure. 10 years before Jersey Boys, I was in The Who's Tommy on Broadway. Des McAnuff directed, and we became friends and trusted colleagues. I trusted him and his vision, and he trusted me with fulfilling that vision. And when he had an idea and was working with Rick Ellis, Marshall Brickman, and of course Frankie and Bob, and the show was sort of being constructed by a team of many, it was Des who was the visionary, and his vision was to have that, to have musicians on stage and to have individuals with personalities that would fill the shoes of the roles and not just do some sort of, imitation. Right. And so because he knew me and trusted me, he was able to give me the opportunity to not only be myself, but to create a character that was based in reality. And that opportunity that I championed was then championed by all of my colleagues, and including casts that followed, where you were able to express and be yourself. Now, I created the role. It was created around me, through me. I was a bit of a muse, so not only for my character, but for the build of the show and the arc of the show. And so it was a little extra layer of process for me that allowed me to really flex in the role. And I think that is what contributed to my Tony nomination and win, was the how different this character was for me, for all intents and purposes. And yet what Des saw and knew was that the character was in me, not only from skills, guitar playing, the trust and the goodwill and good faith that we demonstrated for years, but just actually taking it and fleshing it out and then expressing myself in that and continuing to do so allowed me for 1,500 shows or more to enjoy every moment, every line, every breath, all the punctuation, because I knew exactly why it was there. And I had, I think when we were still in previews, I had, upwards to 35 line changes. So I was in the zone enough to be able to handle all that fun stuff. So I knew within the lines and between the lines what was happening, not only timing and humor, but also content about who these people were and who my character is, who Tommy was, and his purpose for now driving this show into a story that's relatable and where Frankie can shine and that legacy can continue on without Tommy, which is the inevitability of the 4 seasons and therefore our show. So that was
it's a cool to be a part of that creation of the story. I think the people who followed, we learned the history of the show. We learned the history of where the writers came up with these ideas, but to be a part of building that story and adapting it around what's being created on stage just must have been incredibly fulfilling. So
once in a lifetime. I fear it's once in a lifetime. You never know. I treat each day like that, with an opportunity to express and to create, but that was a big one.
Right, absolutely.
A Broadway phenomenon was that's what I mean by once in a lifetime, to be put in that time, in that place, in that character.
Right. So being a part of that, when you started that journey, did you ever sort of imagine yourself standing on the stage at the Tonys and accepting a Tony Award? I mean, like from the moment that you hear that you've been nominated, was there a little bit of hope that was where it was going to go? And then what was that journey that landed you on stage giving that speech with that award in your hand?
Oh, the journey was all about the journey, and the journey was all about the work.
Right.
And all about, meeting the marks, of course, but rising to the occasion and finding joy in that. So the nomination was just an affirmation of that process. And on the day was just another day at the office with the idea of, it's like a surfer that's riding, a big wave surfer, basically he's just going out to surf, right? Right. It just so happens that it's one of the biggest waves on the planet, and it's for the world title, right? Or whatever the award is, or reward. Right. So it's very out of body to be in that zone, because it's almost like a downhill skier, or I always go to sports references because and golf references too, because that's compared to real life, where you're doing something that's bigger than you, and yet all you have to do is be you, and just be you in context. So it's very humbling to be a part of that, and then to be picked out or to be affirmed in a way that's individual, because my mindset is always the collective. It's always the team effort and the context of it. But they don't, we did win a Tony for the show, and a lot of the elements, of course, were affirmed in that way, but to be affirmed personally for that was, I often have to remind myself that actually happened, and and not to be, not to forget,
Right.
to forget that I was able to do that. I was able to be a part of that. Once again, I always go to the group, to
Right.
be a part of it. Oh, that's the opposite of being singled out. But the two go hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, especially as actors, it's certainly a passion that you have to have. Otherwise, you do something easier. But I think we all have our inspiration. I think a lot of what I do personally is, I'm inspired by my daughter. I imagine, with your kids, they're a source of inspiration as well. But going back to sort of when you decided, hey, I want to try this acting thing, and I know you're young. So who was it that sort of inspired you to want to try acting? And is there somebody else later in your career that sort of really influenced you in the same way, but in the context of acting as opposed to prior to it?
Yeah, there's a theme that kind of goes throughout, not only the very first opportunity that was put in front of me, but every opportunity since. And it has to do with an individual, usually,
right,
or a collective of individuals saying that not only that this is a possibility, but you can do it and you will do it. So that mentorship mindset has been very, very important in my life, because I need to be reminded. I need to be encouraged, even though I'm very strong-willed and forward-thinking and can-do, all that sort of right attitude.
right.
When it comes to me doing it, it took somebody to say, this little guy, in the corner or whatever, with his hands in his pockets and his sweats and Chuck Taylors, to have somebody say, come down in front. Do those steps down in front. Show everybody how to do it. I'm not sure I can do that. Yes, you can, and you will. And then the encouragement just to be myself in those sometimes difficult situations, scary situations, where the nerves are going, or maybe where your skill set is here and it will be here. I'm a process guy, so I just to get that first momentum. It's about opportunity, about knowing that it's there, but it's also about somebody saying you can and you will, or somebody that's teaching you and is patient with you.
Was there somebody in particular who you kind of remember as the person who gave you that push?
Absolutely. My first mentor and one of my earliest advocates, my first director, was a gentleman by the name of Ole Kittleson, who passed away in the last 5 years. But he was in New York in the 50s, had success with a show called Where's Charlie? Found a love for teaching, made his way back to San Diego, and was a mentor not only in San Diego Junior Theater, but also the School of Creative and Performing Arts, where I graduated from, which came out of that, right? And he was the resource director for the school. So I was with him from 4th grade to 12th grade. He was there to encourage me along the way and watch me do my thing, but it was that first time. It was, me going to audition with a ukulele and singing "Yes Sir, That's My Baby" in a room of 100 kids. Back then you audition in groups, right, in front of everybody. So my first audition, I'll never forget. Already thinking outside the box, like, okay, well, that's cool. I get to audition. What can I do different? What can I do that's going to raise the stakes? So I like to do that too. And
Nice.
So it was pick up the ukulele and play it. Then, 15, 20 years later, when I'm auditioning for Tommy on Broadway, it was like, well, what can I do different? So I brought in my guitarist. People don't usually do that. I brought in a guitarist to the audition. I sang a medley of 2 Beatles tunes, Long and Winding Road into Get Back, and then back into Long and Winding Road. And already, just adding layers to something that, not to complicate it, but to give it form and to give it context and to give it something new and make it personal. That's been parts of our world, whether it's episodic television or play readings or developing workshops or whatever. You kind of take that attitude with you, and if it works for you, and evidently it worked okay.
Well, you've continued creating. So, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, you know, we got to, you know, hop on stage, you and me and Travis Clower, and Chris Lash too, to do, you know, the first of, it seemed like an experiment. It seemed like, you know, it was, hey, what could we do in the context of COVID? How can we, how is it possible to put together a concert that's safe? And along with the local theater company, and I'm totally blanking right now.
Yeah,
yes.
Rubicon Theater.
Rubicon. Yeah, they created this sort of drive-in style concert, and it was really cool, a lot of fun. But you and Travis kind of put together this, you know, this Rockin' retro drive-in concept, and it seems like it's going to continue. So, where did that come from, and what's next?
Yeah, well, the idea was in response to, once again, context or limitations.
Right.
We needed to be distanced, and we needed a venue or environment like a drive-in theater or drive-in live concert show to facilitate that. So with your help and Chris Lash and Travis, we were able to put that together, and that continues to grow. We know that drive-in concerts will be a thing of the future, and or distanced concerts, and whatever that means. I think that safety was number one, right, for ourselves, for myself personally, for
absolutely,
my colleagues, for the folks that are, you know, working with me, whether it's on the tech side, or production side, or the venue. Everyone needed to be mindful, right, and safe, and with the state's approval and the governor on board, and with, you know, great support from the artistic community and their own, we're able to deliver a show, and that was a blast. And so we built it, you know, in a couple weeks, and yeah, I hope to do it again. I hope to do anything that we can do, right, individually, collectively, to continue to entertain and do what we do, and not lose sight of that. It's easy to do when it's not possible. You kind of divert your attention, or if you have other things going, like I know you and I do in life, other businesses, and certainly family, and our own health, and our children's health, and championing causes. Right. They can then replace the things that if you can't do something, you replace it, right? But some things can't be replaced. And some things, and entertaining for me is that, and singing is that. It's undeniably therapeutic for me to be able to go outside my comfort zone and to say, no, you know, somebody else can do that. But to force myself into that spotlight and bring other people with me is the greatest joy of my life. Just like following other folks and hired to make other people's work elevated or to make good on that is just as much joy for me. But sometimes you have to be in the driver's seat, as you know, and what we did. We literally were in the driver's seat at a drive-in concert.
Now you actually have a date coming up in just a couple days, right? So a couple more times to do this?
Yeah, that's another opportunity here I have locally, partnering with Westfield Mall and a local theater, the California Center for the Arts, where I've performed personally many times, as well as the Midtown Men, performed there in, I think, 2015. And California Center for the Arts is just an awesome organization, and they've partnered now to deliver not only to their subscribers, but to do what they do and expand the audience. And they're producing drive-in theater, drive-in movies, drive-in concert series through October here. And I get to kick that off again. And we have a little different setup from what we did in Ventura together. And that was just some different things that they wanted, and a couple more band members on stage distanced. So that's what we're doing. So
that's August 15th and 16th, right?
August 15th and 16th, and artcenter.org is the site where you can get tickets. And once again, I think we're sold out on Saturday and selling out
Great.
Sunday, and just bringing joy and music to people and bringing people together in a time of great divide. And music can do that. We've witnessed that for decades now, but people are kind of realizing now just how much they are missing that too, and to be able to come together with a common, a common experience like live music, and then the transcendent aspect of music that takes you away, that brings memories back. That's something that I'm really thrilled to be a part of, and look forward to doing that more.
Very cool. So you, when we sung together, we got to do a great Beach Boys tune. You recently put together a video of another Beach Boys tune, Happy Together. And you want to tell us a little bit about it before we play it today?
Yeah, sure. So the Happy Together is a Turtles tune, not a Beach Boys tune.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
But they may have covered it. I'll have to ask Mr. Wilson.
No. Don't trust me. The Turtles it is.
Yeah, Turtles. Yeah. So I produce entertainment for the V Foundation Wine Celebration, which is the biggest fundraising opportunity for an event for the V Foundation for Cancer Research. We just last weekend had a virtual auction, something you're very familiar with.
Yep.
And it was a big success. And usually I put together all the entertainment for the weekend in Napa Valley. Usually there's about 9 performance elements, from a headliner like Don Felder or Fitz and the Tantrums or Chris Isaac, etc., or the Midtown Men. And this year, without an event, we couldn't have the event, needless to say, in person. We pivoted, and within 2 months, we put together a virtual auction and a successful one in partnership with ESPN and the V Foundation and ABC. And so I produced 3 videos, and one of them was Happy Together, which was a finale where I took submissions from our board members on both coasts and
awesome.
And did sort of a retro Zoom style Happy Together.
All right, well, here it is. I'll see you afterward.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. If I should call you up, invest some time, and you say you belong to me, and ease my mind. Imagine how the world would be so very fine, so happy together. Nobody but you for all my life. When you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my life. Me and you for me. No matter how they toss the dice, it had to be the only one for me was you and you for me. So happy together. How they toss the dice, it had to be the only one for me is you and you for me. So happy together. Toss the dice, it had to be the only one for me is you and you for me. Together, we're happy together. And how is the weather? We're happy together. We're happy together. So happy together.
That was awesome, man. That was awesome. That just kind of gets you tapping your foot and smiling.
Oh,
That's the kind of stuff we
for
do more
sure.
of.
And that's a song that I recorded with the Midtown Men, my colleagues there, and they wanted me to use that song for this purpose. So grateful to the guys, and just to be able to use that song and a recording that we did, and encourage other people to try different things, and to get some folks in there to sing or play drums or to play guitar or to come along for the ride was a
That's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Well, thanks for being here, everybody. Just in case you are in the San Diego area and you want to join Travis and Christian for their show, the Rockin' Retro Drive-In, you can go ahead and get your tickets and go online and check it out. Check out their Facebook pages, and I'm sure they will have a link there. Also, Christian, it's been a pleasure having you. Luckily, this continuation of guests, maybe almost your caliber, continues. So everybody, if you want to join us, we have some more great guests coming up in August. We have the incredible Clint Holmes and Kelly Clinton. We have my buddy, radio host and TV and in-arena host. I think he's the voice of NASCAR out here at the Speedway. But my buddy Chet Buchanan will also be on. And every time we do one of these, they either provide a performance, or Chet, God bless him, he's going to choose his favorite performance, since he has hosted the NFL concerts over the years, his favorite performance at the NFL concert, and that will be his next week. So come and join us. Christian, again, it was a pleasure, buddy.
It's been a pleasure.
And
I'm so proud of our friendship, and that we can continue to support one another is a gift. So.
Well, come October, I'm going to throw this up there too. We have our 10th annual NF Hope concert here in Las Vegas. So maybe I'll be giving you a call. Sound good? All right, everybody. It was a pleasure having you on the 10th episode of the live interviews, and we will see you next week with Clint Holmes and Kelly Clinton. Bye, everybody.